Hello, welcome to the Hiring Flexibility Under Professional Standards Final Rule webinar. I'm Liz Hermson, and today with me is
Tina Matadweski.
During today's webinar, we'll discuss how USDA developed the rule for hiring flexibility under professional standards. We'll also explain the main components of the rule. The final rule was published in the Federal Register on March 1st, 2019. The Professional Standards Regulation came out of Section 306 of the Healthy Hunger-Free Kids Act of 2010. USDA was directed to establish professional standards, including minimum hiring standards for new school nutrition directors and minimum hiring standards for new state directors. Everything is a minimum requirement. States or school food authorities can set stronger requirements. Since implementation of these professional standards in 2015, FNS received multiple inquiries from state agencies on behalf of school food authorities that are facing challenges with the hiring standards applicable to local educational agencies with 2499 students or fewer. The majority of the inquiries or waiver requests received by FNS originated in the Mountain Plains region, which includes states with small LEAs such as those in rural or tribal communities. These small LEAs often have difficulty recruiting new school nutrition program directors with previous school nutrition program experience, as required by the prior professional standards regulations. USDA developed the rule to provide more flexibility to these small LEAs experiencing challenges with the hiring standards. Public comments received in response to the proposed rule helped inform development of the final rule. During the proposed rule's 60-day comment period from March 6 to May 7, 2018, USDA received about 75 germane comments. These comments were submitted by state government personnel, state and national associations, school food service staff, school district personnel, food service management companies, and individuals. USDA appreciates the thoughtful comments submitted by stakeholders and the public. The hiring flexibility rule is targeted to 3 specific groups of new school nutrition personnel. These 3 targeted groups are the only personnel who would be affected by the rule. These groups are new state directors of school nutrition programs, new school nutrition directors for local educational agencies or LEAs with 2,499 students or fewer, and new school nutrition directors for LEAs with fewer than 500 students. Please keep in mind that the rule does not address the hiring standards for larger LEAs or the training standards for all school nutrition personnel. Now we'll go over changes for each of the affected groups. First, let's address changes in the hiring requirements for new state directors of school nutrition programs. The prior regulation required that applicants for a new state director of school nutrition programs have a bachelor's degree in specific relevant fields. USDA will allow flexibility in the hiring standards to attract a larger number of professionals qualified to lead and manage the school nutrition programs statewide. To accommodate applicants who have a master's degree in one of the specified fields, but a bachelor's degree in a non-related field, USDA adds a master's or doctorate degree in a relevant field to the basic qualifications. We don't want to unintentionally prevent highly educated individuals from serving as state director of school nutrition programs. Adding a master's or doctorate degree in a relevant field to the basic qualifications acknowledges that many professionals change careers and gain relevant experience through advanced education in areas relevant to school nutrition. For example, a state agency supervisor who has a bachelor's degree in political science and a master's degree in nutrition education could be considered to serve as a state director of school nutrition programs. However, both a master's degree and a bachelor's degree in one of the specified fields is strongly preferred. Now Tina will go over the changes in the hiring standards for school nutrition program directors.
In the school meal programs, there are approximately 6,500 local education agencies with an enrollment between 500 and 2,499 students, which represents about 36% of the LEA population nationwide. These small LEAs, particularly those in rural or less populated areas, often struggle to find applicants with specific school nutrition program experience. For example, within the last several years, 6 SFAs in one state were diligent in advertising director vacancies but were not able to hire new directors with the required school nutrition program experience due to the limited pool of applicants in the local labor market. Most applicants in these small LEAs had acquired relevant food service experience by working as managers or chefs at local restaurants and healthcare facilities. The prior regulations required from 0 to 3 years of prior school nutrition program experience, depending on the level of education attained by the new director. Applicants with a bachelor's degree with an academic major in a relevant field were not required to have prior school nutrition experience. Applicants with a bachelor's degree with an academic major in an unrelated field were required to have at least 1 year of experience or a state-recognized certificate for school nutrition directors. Applicants with an associate's degree in a relevant field were required to have at least 1 year of experience. And applicants with a high school diploma or the equivalent were required to have at least 3 years of experience. For new directors in small LEAs with 2,499 students or fewer, the rule requires relevant food service experience rather than specific school nutrition program experience in these small communities. An applicant may have limited job opportunities in school food service but has worked in food service at a hospital or as a restaurant manager. The final rule also provides state agencies with discretion on an individual basis to consider documented volunteer or unpaid work as relevant food service experience. The flexibility to consider unpaid experience acknowledges that in small communities there are few employment opportunities in food service, but residents may have participated in an unpaid apprenticeship or internship program, or that residents may volunteer to manage food service activities for civic and community organizations such as a homeless shelter. Please note this final rule requires that if unpaid or volunteer work is used to qualify an individual to be a director, it must be documented to verify that the unpaid work is relevant and actually occurred. For example, documentation of volunteer work in a school cafeteria could include a letter from the school nutrition program director stating the amount of time the individual worked, the substantive work they performed, and the skills they learned. Although this rule removes the specialized experience requirement for new directors in LEAs with 2,499 students or fewer, hiring a new director with school nutrition program experience is a best practice. Under the prior regulation, if a new director did not meet the hiring standards, an SFA would not be able to use the nonprofit food service account to pay the director's salary. However, the fiscal impacts of not being able to use the food service account to pay the salary of a director could jeopardize an SFA's financial viability and ability to participate in school meals programs. Therefore, for LEAs with student enrollment of 2,499 or fewer, this final rule provides that a state agency may approve an SFA to use the nonprofit food service account to pay the salary of a school nutrition program director who does not meet the hiring standards, so long as the SFA is complying with a state agency approved plan to ensure that the director will meet the professional standards requirements. The plan must include reasonable timeframes for the SFA to achieve and maintain compliance. It must also ensure the director will meet the qualifications, whether by gaining experience or completing educational requirements. The plan may also include required training and/or educational courses. LEAs with student enrollment of 2,499 or fewer have faced challenges in hiring directors who meet the required qualifications, and this flexibility will help to address the needs of their unique labor markets while ensuring standards are still met. To provide additional assistance to very small LEAs with fewer than 500 students, the final rule modifies a flexibility that provides state agencies discretion to allow an SFA to hire a new school nutrition program director with a high school diploma or GED, but less than the required years of school nutrition program experience. The final rule allows the state agency to apply this optional flexibility if an applicant has either a high school diploma, an associate's degree, or a bachelor's degree, but less than the required years of food service experience. By expanding the flexibility to include other educational levels, USDA affirms its commitment to provide small LEAs with 500 students or fewer more local control to address their unique hiring challenges. Ideally, a new program director in this situation would have some paid or unpaid food service experience. While the final rule does not require a specific training program for directors hired without school nutrition experience, a best practice is for state agencies to work with these new directors. State agencies may wish to develop a plan to ensure new directors receive ample training to prepare for the challenges and rewards of the position. USDA encourages new school nutrition program directors hired with food service experience not specific to school nutrition settings to complete additional school nutrition training or work toward a state-recognized certificate for school nutrition directors. Several entities, such as the Institute for Child Nutrition, offer no-cost or low-cost continuing education and training in a variety of formats. Such training is an allowable use of the nonprofit food service account. The Institute of Child Nutrition offers the Orientation to School Nutrition Management, which provides an overview of the management components of school nutrition programs. Additionally, the Professional Standards for School Nutrition Professionals training database includes many trainings that could be helpful to new directors. State agencies may also adapt existing state agency training for new directors without school nutrition experience. Today we have given you an overview of the content of the final rule. The full text of the rule, as well as a correction to the summary table, is available at the Federal Register website. On the FNS website, we have information about the professional standards. We encourage you to read the rule to further understand the content and intent. The hiring flexibility under professional standards final rule is effective as of April 30th, 2019. Looking ahead, USDA will continue to support state agencies and program operators with updated policy guidance and technical assistance resources. If SFAs experience challenges during the hiring process, they should continue to work proactively with state agencies to determine an appropriate solution. This is especially important when state agencies have discretion to address these challenges with the flexibilities provided by the final rule. As always, listening to our stakeholders will continue to be a priority for USDA.
This concludes the presentation portion of the webinar. Thank you for joining us today.